Welcome to Rotary Youth Exchange for Rotary District 6360. This is a little movie or podcast about what you host families might expect the first couple of weeks. This is kind of the short version. This does not replace our orientation for host families, which is Sunday at 1:30. You can pause the screen, get all the information. You should have received it by email. This is just to cover the first couple of weeks and some issues with the students. This is our Rotary District. I should introduce myself. I'm Dick Samus. I'm the chairman of Rotary Youth Exchange for our district. We have actually 59 Rotary clubs now. And here's Lansing, Jackson, Saugatuck, St. Joe area. So it gives you an idea where our district is and where our students, our 9 incoming students, are located for this year. Well, there's me. I've been doing this for about 9 years. And also here is Lee and Sue Sherowitz. They're our inbound chairs. You'll meet them at the orientation on the 26th. Rotary is a big part of our exchange. Your student will attend Rotary every 2 weeks. They might start attending before the next time I see you. We'll talk more about Rotary. You may be meeting these Rotary people involved in Youth Exchange. The Youth Exchange officer heads up all the Youth Exchange activities for the Rotary Club. There's also a Youth Exchange counselor. It's usually a Rotary member, not a professional, and they're a mentor to the student. They may want to meet your student early on, and hopefully they will. The subject of how many host families will come up. Will you be relieved? Some host families don't want to be relieved. We'll discuss this at orientation. Our district does recommend at least 2 host families. Please write down this website if you didn't receive my email with it. These are what we call first night questions. It may be more practical to go over these the second day. You'll find if your student has English issues, the questions are translated into his or her language on this website. There are a lot of good questions you may not think of that are probably on your student's mind. Money is a big subject. We'll talk more about this on the 26th. Your students should be bringing $300 to $400 for emergency money. That is to be kept by the host family, turned over to the second host family. Basically, the host family's only responsibility is room and board. That means a roof over their head and 3 meals a day, including school lunches paid by the host family. Everything else is the student's responsibility. They will get $75 a month spending money from Rotary. And this is always a big subject with lots of questions. We'll talk more about this on the 26th. Passports and airline tickets should be put in a safe place, but Department of State regulations say the student has to have access to them. So I recommend maybe a file folder in the home office and an unlocked drawer where the student knows where they are. Cell phones are always a big issue. We recommend that our students have a cell phone. The cost of the cell phone is the student's responsibility unless the host family chooses to contribute. I always contributed something to the cell phone because I felt it was as much for me to be able to locate my student, my host son, as it was for their own purposes. But that is up to you if you want to contribute. Make sure you have an understanding with the student who's paying for it right from the very beginning. Now, a lot of our students use these kind of Go phones you can get for $20 at Walgreens or someplace like that. I liked an unlimited texting plan only package. Verizon has one for $20. That means the student can text to their heart delight for about $20 a month. They can still make a phone call if there's an emergency, but it'll be like 45 cents a minute kind of thing. So that kind of thing seemed to work out pretty well. Homesickness is always an issue. We see it outwardly in girls more than we see in boys. Boys tend to hide it more. Lying in bed at night will be the worst time. especially at the beginning. The boys don't always admit that they're homesick. The best cure is to keep them as busy as possible. Once school starts, that is a natural buffer against homesickness. And also, too much contact, either with their parents back home or their friends back home, that'll keep them from what we call getting their head into the United States. We want the student's head to leave their country and to come into our country. And going into the room every day after dinner, every night, and going back to their country on their computer hinders that. So just something to keep in touch. Try to get them involved in home activities as much as possible with your family. The only thing I'll say about culture shock at the moment is if your student does something early on that you think is kind of rude or offensive, just consider first it may be a cultural difference. Talk to your student about it. We will be encouraging our students to go to church with your family if that is part of your tradition. Becoming a member of your family to me is extremely important. This may seem obvious, but many families want to put their student kind of on a guest status. Oh, let me bring you this, let me bring you that, put you on a pedestal. And I can tell you from personal experience, it is much better if they feel part of your family, that you give them chores from the very beginning. You set rules just like you would your own children. This next slide I'll show you briefly, and I'm using QuickTime. Sometimes there's a little delay. But these are all my host sons doing different chores around my house. And I was accused of slave labor from time to time. But believe me, they weren't doing anything I wasn't doing. All of my students loved learning how to chop wood. That was kind of a special thing. Getting involved, you will find your students making friends it can be the toughest challenge. And it's not because they're from another country, it's just because they're new to that school. The only thing I'll say at this time is to think about getting your students, talking to them about what activities they want to get involved in school. Coming home after school every day and watching TV is just not an option. School, the thing I want to say about school right now is usually the host family, the parent will take the student over and register them at school. Sometimes the YEO likes to do it. You can talk to them about it. Most schools will sit down with the student with a guidance counselor and create kind of a creative schedule. They may want them to take 10th grade history, but the student really is good at math, so they'll put them in a 12th grade calculus class, something like that. The one thing to keep in mind is they will be going to Rotary every 2 weeks, and if you don't know when your Rotary Club meets, ask the Youth Exchange officer. So they will miss a class right around that time of the day every 2 weeks. So see if you can get the school not to schedule one of their best classes around the time that they'll be going to Rotary. If you have not received your student application, please contact me. The student application is very important. It's got the immunization records should already have been given to the school, but you should have a copy of those. There is a medical release form. It's next to the conditions and rules section toward the end of the student application. That's very important. A lot of doctors won't treat your host son or daughter unless they see the actual natural parents signing this release, and it's part of our application. So contact me if you have not received a copy, and the YEOs should all have a copy of it also. Briefly, our rules, these are taught to the students before they come to the United States. Absolutely no driving. That includes boats or ATV, kind of off-road type vehicles. There is no drinking of alcohol. The only exception would be a glass of wine with your family on a special occasion, if that's all right with you and all right with the student. We have a zero tolerance against taking drugs. We don't want the student dating, and we mean serious dating, a relationship. They can certainly have a homecoming date and a prom date, that kind of thing, but we don't want them spending all their time with one student. We'll talk more about that. The other thing that probably won't come up in the first couple of weeks, but they are not allowed to travel independently outside your community without an adult of your choosing that you approve of. We'll talk more about that. So those are quickly the things I wanted to go over. If you have any questions, you should have my phone number by now and my email address. Lee and Sue will be a great resource. Please ask questions. We have very good tech support for this program. And I do want to just thank everyone for serving, whether you're a YEO or you're a host family. You're doing something extremely important in our opinion, and you're doing something to really help these young folks. Thank you for listening, and that's all for this presentation.